Hi, Mark here from the Tangibound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangibound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangibound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangiboundNetwork.com and see if Tangibound Network is right for you.
Sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. And life sucks all of the time, so stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
We're not doctors, therapists, trained professionals of any kind, so if you feel you do need help, please reach out and get the help you need. We have a whole list of things on our files page over on Facebook at facebook.com/crazylifepodcast, and or just search on the internet for the suicide prevention hotline number, or go to NAMI.org or whatever resource you can find. But just please reach out for help if you need it. If you feel as though you're going to harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. And try not to be alone. Also, if you feel that way and you realize that you're writing a note or making plans of how you would do, like harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. That's a huge red flag. And lastly, please do not replace the idea of therapy with listening to this show. Again, if you need help, please reach out and get the help that you need, or contact us. We can try to help you find the help that you need. Welcome to the Crazy Life, everybody. I'm Brian. Joining me this week is Henno.
Howdy.
And no Jen this week because schedules were just a daggum mess all around.
Yep.
So it's amazing Henno and I were even able to put this together. So
Yep.
Oh man.
Yep. I'm trying to come up with something funny to talk about my almost making an excuse today, but I can't put it together. I got nothing.
Yeah.
Let's just say, people, I almost, like, you know when you say something and you're just totally setting yourself up to be called out as a hypocrite, but you catch yourself at the last minute. Not necessarily a hypocrite, but priorities, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's my win for the week. I caught it before I'd just gave you the opportunity to shame me.
Oh man, totally. And I could have too, because I'm like, dude, I've got like an almost crippling migraine, and I'm still willing to do the show.
Exactly, yeah. And
No,
and you had more important things to do last night, huh?
Yeah, sure you did.
Yeah.
Sure.
Here I am.
I mean, I think we can both agree you did have more important things to do last night. So,
well, just choices, you know.
Right.
And then what if I was like, I'm so tired. I only got 4 hours of sleep. Yeah. Why did you only get 4 hours of sleep? Choices.
Yep.
migraine here. Migraine.
Yep. Yeah. Come on, dude.
These are these things. So, hey, how's your weekend? How'd it go?
Yeah.
How was your visit?
That was a lot of fun. It was good times. We had, I had a lot of fun. It was really nice having her here again, and much harder to say goodbye this time, which is full on what I pretty much expected, but it was, it's just nice. We just fit, so it's nice that, to have somebody that you feel gets you, like with the mental health stuff and whatever. Yep. So it's really cool that, to have that, even though it's only for a few days or whatever. But, it was, again, we didn't really go out and do a whole lot because neither of us are really that kind of person. That's just, so it's, but, we did go out and get ice cream and just little, dumb stuff like that. But that was fine.
Fun.
So, yeah.
And now I did get a selfie. That was kind of cool. Did you take any others?
Yeah, actually, we took like 5. So, whereas
it looked like you did like photo booth styly.
We did basically. Like, there's a few where we're smiling, and then we started making faces and stuff. So
faces, yeah.
Which are the ones I always like the best anyway, because it's just being goofy, and I'm not a big fan for like posed pictures. I'm a big fan of those. So it was it was kind of fun to just be goofy like that. But at least we remembered this time.
Yep.
Because last time, neither of us thought of it until she was, home. So, much better this time. But it was, like I said, I don't really have a whole lot to talk about it because like I said, we didn't do a lot. We watched TV. We just hung out and talked, got to know each other even better and whatnot. So it's, that's about it. But it was awesome. So, definitely, nice, nice thing to have in your life again. But I went back to the doctor and I got the testosterone shot. And that was Thursday, and it's Tuesday now, and I don't really feel much different. I feel pretty much the same. Which is really disappointing. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's, but he did tell me the goal of the shots or testosterone treatment would be to, essentially raise the floor, so there won't be as big of a drop when the testosterone drops off. So you raise the floor so that it doesn't seem like as big of a deal. So maybe I just need, a different dose or continuing, to continue whatever for a while. So
did he give an estimate on like whether you should actually feel something, or is it more like you?
Yeah,
like,
he told me that usually people feel difference like the next day, and I didn't notice anything, So, but that doesn't necessarily mean nothing happened. You know what I mean? But it's just
yeah.
I can't this or this. You know? So I don't know. But I go back in a couple weeks because these shots are supposed to last about 2 weeks. So I go back in a couple weeks and I'll talk with him again about it. So like I said, I just, it was a little disappointing. I was really kind of hoping like the next day I'd be like, and run around, throwing cars around and stuff, whatever. Hitting 70 home runs in a season, whatever, But I'm assuming it was a low dose because it was the first time, see how I react to it, see if it helps. Plus, I can't imagine they're just going to hit you with a high dose to start with, Yeah. I would think they might step it up or something. So we'll see how it goes. Still,
I thought I saw a little extra beard growth, but maybe I was mistaken.
Can you imagine if that's all I got out of it?
Yeah.
It's like I get the shot the next day, my beard's down to like my stomach, Like, wow.
Yeah. Still bald.
Yeah. Oh, even more bald. More hair falls out.
Yeah, exactly. More male pattern baldness.
Come on.
I'm extra male right now.
Yeah.
Grew another hair out of the nipple.
Yep.
Less head hair.
Right.
the ear tufts.
Right.
Expanded.
Oh, just terrible.
Oh, it'd be horrible.
I don't even have a beard. It's just the ear hair. I just comb it down together. You know, it's terrible.
Just use a little glue to make it look cohesive.
Yeah, either that or I just braid it. You know, I have a long braid in front. Oh man,
braided ear hair. That's terrible.
Ugh, disgusting.
Welcome to the crazy life, folks.
Right. Yeah.
Where we share our experiences with mental health and ear beards.
Oh man, yeah. So, and I had my EEG last week. Also, I don't know the results of that yet because I have to wait till the follow up. I guess I don't know, but that went way better than I thought it was going to because they told me basically it'd take like an hour, and I walked in. There was nobody else in the building except me and the two nurses or whatever, and I sat down. They hooked all the stuff up. You know, it took about, 15 minutes, maybe. The weirdest part was at one point, you know, she's like, oh, there's going to be a strobe light. And I was like, okay. Well, I didn't realize, because they tell you to close your eyes when you're doing this. I didn't realize she had put like this light like 4 inches from my eyes. So when it first went off, I was like, you know, because kind of jumped back a little bit. But yeah, that was, you know, the weirdest part to me, honestly, was after she took all the, whatever they're called, off my head, that, you know, they have to wipe that, like, adhesive or whatever it is off. And luckily, I don't have a head full of, you know, a lush, you know, well-coiffed hairdo. So I had a huge advantage there because the stuff, they peeled right off, no big deal. And she wiped my head off, which was a weird feeling. I haven't had anybody else, especially, like, I haven't had anyone else wipe my head off in, I don't know, ever? No. But, so that felt really strange, but whatever, it was, you know.
You're just used to just fingers through your luscious mane.
Yes, exactly.
Not
on my ears. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh. Oh man. Yeah, it sucked though, because for a while afterward. Yeah. For a while afterwards, I kept finding random spots that still had some of that adhesive or whatever. And it was all gummy, you know. That was fun. But that's it. I was in and out of there in like 20 minutes. So I was like, the only thing I can think of is maybe they were like, if they're busy, you may have to wait a while. And then by the time they do everything, it might be 45 minutes. So they just tell you an hour basically or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I was, like I said, there was no one else in there. So I was in and out pretty fast. I was pretty all right.
Excellent.
Yeah. And I go back. Well, I think I'm scheduled next week, but I'm going to call and have a talk with them about that because the appointment they scheduled me for is like 8 a.m. and that's just not going to happen.
Ooh,
so
that's tough.
That's brutal for somebody like me, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, okay, I can schedule. Either stay up or I can get 2 hours of sleep and then go.
Yeah. You know you're going to sleep through it.
Probably.
It's just this. That's what you just got to say is you're setting me up to miss this appointment.
Yeah. Well, that's why my EEG was at like 10, I think it was. And when she told me to close my eyes, I was like, I might fall asleep if I close my eyes. Yeah. She's like, well, you need to close your eyes for that. I was like, okay. I was like, but I'm just telling you now, I might fall asleep. So there were a couple times where I felt like I was pretty close.
I almost fell asleep at the dentist's office 2 weeks ago.
Oh man.
It was just really weird.
Mm-hmm. My mom's done that a couple of times. Yeah.
I was cozy. Closed my eyes.
Yeah.
I had the little sunglasses on. You know, someone's just picking your teeth.
Sure.
That nice repetitive, you know, sound of scraping.
It is very soothing. Now every night to get to sleep, you have to have sunglasses on and have someone scrape your teeth. Pretty weird.
Just the sound. How bad would that be? But like, well, you have somebody over your house like, wait, what's that sound? That's the sound of a dentist office. I have to have it on the background to fall asleep.
You're a weird man. Like,
is that drilling?
Like,
did somebody just scream?
Like, yeah.
That's soothing.
Yeah, it's like, can't you just try, I can't think of the name of this stuff now. The stuff like everybody uses to like go to sleep.
Like the pink noise or the waterfalls.
No. Like the it's like a supplement. I can't think of what it's called.
Melatonin.
Melatonin, thank you. Yeah. You know, like have you just
been trying?
Yeah, it's like, have you tried melatonin maybe?
Melatonin, yeah.
This is way better. Oh man. So
I was having lunch today.
Mm-hmm.
Just total sidetrack, but just made me. We were just talking about fiber supplements because I just thought about Tony and how he was trying some fiber supplements.
Yeah.
And so we're just talking about fiber and like probiotics and things like that for your health. And all of a sudden my GM just starts talking. He's literally eating a salad and graphically talking about having good movements.
Wow.
And I was just sitting there like, this is strange.
Like, okay, we're at that level of relationship now.
Exactly. That's where we're at.
All right then.
Yeah.
Like, good to know. I'll move the meter a little bit. So,
it's like you've got an abacus.
Yeah.
Where you adjust the level.
Like, oh, we're here now.
Okay, relationship status.
I know about the consistency of your bowel movements now. That's.
Yes.
I feel like
Thank you.
that's something that only your doctor needs to know about you, but it's weird.
Yeah, I think you can talk to your wife or your girlfriend.
Yeah,
about
okay,
it,
I'll give you that. Yeah,
because when sometimes you walk out and it's just victory.
True.
You got to share that with somebody,
Mm-hmm.
honey. You're not going to believe it just happened.
I remember the one that'll always stand out in my head was my dad. When he was in his last year, when he was fighting terminal cancer, he ran into a stretch where because of like the Vicodin and various stuff he was on, just completely, stopped him.
Yeah.
And I just remember one day he came out, and my dad at this point had lost a bunch of weight and, whatever, and was kind of more shuffling than walking, but he just starts doing like a jig, and he's like, I pooped. And I'll just never forget, my dad saying he pooped.
That's classic.
And we were all completely, thrilled because,
yeah,
it was the first time in a while that, nothing like a 60-year-old man saying, looking at you, I pooped, and dancing.
Woohoo!
Yep.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So any word on the MRI?
No, because I was going to talk to the doctor while I was there to see what they wanted me to do, but he wasn't there, so I couldn't. And they tried calling him real quick, but he was in with a patient, so I got to call back or just wait till the follow-up, whichever, and ask him then.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that's basically been my week. So the win for the week is, I guess, having Roxanne here was probably the best part of the week. So I guess, but
that's winning.
Yeah, exactly. And also not freaking out about like the tests and stuff, like even like the EEG. I just got up, went and did it. Like I wasn't really nervous about it at all. And there's no reason to be nervous about it really, because it's completely painless. At least it was for me. I've heard some stories where people have had, those things like stick to their hair or whatever, and that's not pleasant. But aside from that, no big deal. So, but yeah, it was nice that I didn't like start having anxiety or freaking out over something, because I had never had one before, So.
Like you shared on Salty Language this week, I like when you said, it's pretty good. It's been a pretty good week.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've been saying that a lot more lately.
Yeah,
and that's cool.
Yeah. And I can't lie. It was, it was a pretty good week, Even the doctor's visits were, pleasant. They weren't bad, So,
yeah.
I mean, aside from, getting a shot in the upper butt / hip.
It took us?
That took us, yeah. like Like I said over there, as soon as I saw that needle, I knew it wasn't going in my arm.
You don't want me to roll up my sleeve, do you?
Yeah, nope. I've had enough shots over the years. I looked at that and was like, that is not going in the arm. So,
Yep.
like, all right, fine, let's do this.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah, so how about you? How's your week been?
Yeah, I'm trying to think if anything interesting happened, but I don't think anything did happen. It's just been kind of, the one thing that I am a little, I need to watch. All right, so I ordered a bunch of stuff for the car to fix it.
Right.
But I also there was all this new music that came out, where I saw something on iTunes and I was like, oh, sweet. So I downloaded this and I downloaded that and I downloaded this and I saw something else. And, oh yeah, I need that. And it was like, after a while, I'm like, wow, there's not a whole lot of, retail filtering going on here.
Yeah.
At all. And the thing is, they're all small items. Oh yeah, I need this. Boom. $20. Oh, I need another case of this. Boom. $20, $30, $40. And then, but I'll look at the credit card statement, cause I have, a card that I use that I just pay off every month.
Yeah.
And, I get cash back stuff or whatever. Anyhow. And I just looked at it and I'm like, oh wow, all those little things added up and,
yeah.
Are you being discriminating enough, And one thing I didn't talk about last week that I did, it was from last weekend, was I started selling stuff, which was also good. That idea of, not that I need to, but just looking at what I'm doing, that being somewhat conscious of it.
Yeah.
But I'm still this week I'm going to do a couple of events this week. One's volunteer and one I'm making a little bit of money on. And I'm like, I'd rather be able to do, I don't want to have to sit there and debate whether I can buy a freaking album.
Yeah. Yep.
But it's I need to be smart about it. So it's maybe it's time to start looking for some extra work. I'm obviously willing to do it. Mm-hmm. Have a little bit of extra income. When I had the money for gigs, it was easy to just say, okay, I'll buy an airline ticket because I made a couple $100 or whatever.
Right.
And go fly. But yeah, it was just one thing I noticed again. I'm like, you've done all this work on debt. Consolidating, but there's some numbers going up again.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, if you don't catch yourself here, that number is going to potentially grow and grow. It's only $10. It's only 10. Or next thing you know, like you said,
it's only $100. It's only $300, and the next thing you know, it's a couple thousand.
Next thing you know, you're like, well, here's the second card I need to use to pay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I just
because there isn't anything wrong with getting stuff getting an album when you want it and stuff, but like you said, if you're all of a sudden you're like, wow, I'm buying 7 at one time and I'm buying this, and then it's like, whoa, maybe slow it down a little bit, put a limit, okay, I can only buy 2 a week or whatever, arbitrary thing you have to do.
Yeah. So it's just something that I always need to be, I just need to be open and honest about it.
Yeah.
Before I get myself into trouble, which can happen, so, yeah.
I hear you though. I used to do the same thing, when I'd go CD shopping or whatever, next thing you know, I've got a stack of 7-8 CDs and I'm like, oh, cause the place we went to had movies and books and, toys and CDs, so it was next thing you know, I'm over in the movie department. I'm going to take a look at the books while I'm here. And next thing you know, I'm $300 in.
And that was it too. Oh, this book I've been looking forward to coming out in September. Hey, pre-order available.
Sure.
Click.
Might as well, yeah.
Oh, this is it. Click. Oh,
hey, I mean, Henno, I have a Amazon wish list and my birthday's coming up. While you're in the mood.
I heard about that.
Yeah.
I heard about that.
While you're in such a spending spirit.
No, while you're linking through the salty language Amazon link.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So we can make a little extra money off of that gift you're buying.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right? I mean,
So, because one thing I did is when I took out the second on the house, I knew I wasn't going to prioritize paying that off because it's just a line of credit and it's interest only, and I'm throwing a little bit extra money to it just because a friend of mine said, just do it anyway. It'll at least something will be coming off of it. And I made a plan because I couldn't transfer everything. I still had a credit card that couldn't be or just didn't get transferred. And so I was like, okay, this is getting paid off first.
Mm-hmm.
And I made a plan. I transferred that to like an 18 months interest free credit card, and I'm making a big, huge payment. So it's paid off in 18 months.
Right.
I'm talking like $5,000. It's going to be gone.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm putting a huge nut to that, but it's then I'm sitting here spending and going, okay, yeah, but is it just going up somewhere else? Which is, that's what used to happen a lot. And it's like, okay, don't allow yourself to get into that because it's just a part of my addictive personality. It really is.
Yep.
That's
the one place realistically, if I had like a tendency to lean toward like showing addictive tendencies, it would be in retail therapy. Like there's so many times that, I just like the second I get money, I'm almost like, ooh, I should go buy this and this and this and, and
exactly.
It's like slow down, especially being like me, I'm unemployed, so money doesn't just fall in my lap regularly, so when I do get a few bucks, it's like, all right, slow down,
yep.
But yeah,
I got the new car registered and I got insurance for it, and it was cool. So I was able to get full coverage for it, which I'm really happy about because it's just in such good condition. And I'd hate to, have something happen to it and not be able to get it fixed back to how it was. Mm-hmm. Especially since it was practically a gift. So
yeah, right.
So did a little work on that. Did some work around the house over the weekend, which was nice. And I went to the gym 4 times this last week, which was big. Usually I only do like maybe twice, but I managed to pull off a trip on my day off and then an extra. I was stoked about that.
Wow, you went on a day off, huh?
Yeah, it's rare for me to actually get up there.
That's a big deal. That's why I wasn't minimizing that at all. I was like, wow, because it's easy to just, Velcro yourself to a couch on days off.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was pretty warm, so I wasn't in the, I did some yard work in the morning, but I didn't want to do anything in the afternoon. Yeah. And so I was like, because I was hoping to go, visit someone, and that was just starting to turn out that it wasn't going to happen. And I said I would be, flexible with it. So I'm like, hey, how about I'll go to the gym and then I'll check in with you afterwards. And actually went up there and I was like, okay, cool. So
nice.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, pretty
much.
That's pretty good too, because you didn't put a bunch of pressure on yourself to go 4 times or whatever. It was just how it happened. And
yeah, it happened. And so like tonight, because I usually do Tuesdays. Tuesday night, I usually go to the gym, and I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. So now I'm like, oh, okay, I don't have to freak out tonight.
Yeah.
And tomorrow I'm doing an event, and Thursday night I have something going on, and I was like, okay, cool. I don't need to freak out about it. Friday's day off again. I can go up on Friday.
Right.
And I see Sharon's really, she really wants to get back to working out. And, she got involved with a local guy here that does kind of like, like classes, like, and it's more than just a class. It's more than just like a circuit training class. He's also works with you on diet and, eating plans and things like that. It's comprehensive, and you can pay like a monthly fee and you get so many workouts, and it was really helped to motivate, get her motivated, but there's nothing stopping her from, going out on her mountain bike, which she did this week. But I get it. It's hard to get started. It's really hard. And especially if there's something you really kind of want to do.
Yeah.
And
it's like with that, it's like you could look online and find a workout thing, or talk to somebody one time and get some sort of a workout. You could, find a diet that works for, or change in, stuff. You could do it all yourself. But the problem is, like you said, will you be that shove you need to start? If you're that kind of person, great. Like me, I'm not that kind of person. I need a kick in the pants to get me going a lot of times, Yeah.
And that's why I feel like, here I am, I have access to this gym, and I'm not going. Like, come on.
Right.
It's like, and yeah, I go, you do it. You have to do it. These are these things that are,
well, they're goes back to what you were saying at the beginning about, blowing up your own excuses. You know,
Yeah.
you're like, look, I've got this. I, can't give myself an excuse here because I really don't have one.
Yeah. There's
I mean,
somebody in your life that you love that would love to have what you have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, so yeah.
Yeah.
But that's about it. If I think of anything else, I'll let you know.
All right. Works for me. All right. So I guess let's move on to the topic for the night. One that definitely, one that definitely rings true for you and I. No.
Yeah. It's gonna hit all the bells.
Yeah, it really is. This is one of those things that, first of all, it's a list. It's from goodtherapy.org, and it's called "Are You a Toxic Person?" And we've talked about toxic people and how a lot of us, like Henno and I, are both at the point where we've tried to remove or reprioritize toxic people. Even if they're still in our lives, they don't get the attention that they used to get or whatever. But sometimes, it doesn't hurt to just make sure you're not being that person for someone else, because it's so easy to do. And really, most of us listening and doing this, we're probably going to find that you've done or do a variety of these on this list. I think this list is really similar to kind of like the distorted thinking, in that almost everybody does these things. It's just a matter of how many and when, and So,
yep.
The first one here is, do you use shaming language? If the word should appears often in your vocabulary, you might want to reconsider this. You know what you should do is a sentence starter often riddled with shame and the idea that you know better. It is pejorative and creates a power dynamic that causes others to pull back and not trust you. Calling people names and trying to put them down or make them feel bad is also shaming. Even if your intention is to motivate people, this can be ineffective and paralyzing.
That's a great point, that last sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all say things with good intention.
Right.
And that's one thing I've kind of, with Sharon and myself, there's one thing with our sobriety. We try to stay out of each other's sobriety.
Mm.
And, and other than occasional this and that, one thing we don't do is we don't program on each other.
Yeah,
what we call it. Like, I don't pull out program with her. I mean, I use it when we get into arguments and things like that because it's important. Usually there are ways to like calm down or to give perspective and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like the last thing, like, oh yeah, my intention is to motivate you. And what I've done is I've just made you feel like, a jerk or useless or worthless or whatever. Right.
And it kills the whole concept of conversation, because once someone's made you feel that way, you might as well just put your fingers in your ears, because you're generally not going to really listen to them anymore because you're on the defensive because they've put you down or called you a name essentially. So it's not a great way to communicate with someone.
And it kind of goes to that unsolicited advice kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and again, there's something like you were just saying with that. It's like, a lot of times when people tell you stuff, they don't want you to tell them what to do. A lot of times people are just looking to
download.
Yeah, get the frustration out. That's why we talked about that at least once before about, like if they don't ask you for advice, maybe keep it to yourself.
Yeah, and I get, especially like when you do go and, if someone comes and shares with me something that happened to them that day, and my first reaction is, oh, why did you do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, like it says, you should know better. Like, what were you thinking?
Right. Exactly.
Like, wow, just load a little bit more on.
Yeah.
You're here. Come on, bring it.
Right. And tell them at the same time that you think you're better than they are. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I would never do that.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So if your reaction to people coming up to you and sharing their tale of woe is to point out what they've already realized is that they're a dumbass.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe you're a toxic person.
Yeah. And it's funny too. I've already mentioned the distorted thinking once, but using should is definitely one of the words that's on there that it's essentially, it goes to a need to be correct or right. And that's a very distorted way of looking at things, and
superiority complex kind of stuff.
Yep, exactly. Yep. So, like this article says at the beginning, kind of like if you feel as though these things are you and you're having some issues with it, please seek out a therapist to kind of help walk you through these. 'Cause, again, it's amazing how a therapist sitting there going, you do realize you do this, right? And you're just, everyone in your life could have been saying that to you for years, but the one time that therapist says it, you're like, oh my God,
Yeah.
So, it doesn't hurt, to do that. Plus most of us, who wants to be a toxic person? It's generally not something any of us strive for. The second one is, do you tend to blame others for your problems? If nothing is ever your fault, or you have difficulty taking responsibility or apologizing when you make a mistake, this may be something to reconsider or get support around. If there's conflict, at least two parties usually play a role, and it is important that we practice taking accountability. Only apologizing is not always enough. Make a plan to try to make it right and do something different in the future. We may also have to accept the consequences of our actions if we broke someone's trust. If we always blame others or the outside world for our problems, it prevents us from learning from our mistakes or stepping into an empowered position to make positive changes in our lives. Boy, I feel like there's a lot of things you've talked about in that paragraph, Henno.
Yeah.
Like the accountability and, that there's two parts.
This is such a common thing with alcoholism. I mean, it really is. It's the world against you. And, it's always apologizing. It's always it's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is permission kind of stuff. And,
right.
And always one thing that goes along with this, besides not so much about blaming others for your problems, is justifying your actions. Yeah. Or I should say your reactions. Is that, it is a form of blame, but it's more like, hey, look what they did.
Yeah.
And, you're, and it's usually, it's 'cause it's the but sentences. Yes, I know I did that, but.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I did that, but. Just stop right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a tough one because it's like, these are the people that I don't, that when they're in my life, I just, I want to try to help them, but until a person realizes that that's what they do all the time. But even then, what I've noticed a lot with alcoholics, because this is something that, and I ran into it with my mother and some friends and who are all, when they were having struggle in their lives, is they say, yeah, but so what? No, I know I do this all the time, but who cares?
Yeah.
Or I know I'm like this. They literally say, they just say, well, that's how I am. Deal with it.
Yeah. I've always hated that. It's like on one hand, I've always, I know Jen's had an issue with this too. Like, when it'd be like, well, that's just Henno being Henno kind of a situation. And Jen, I remember years and years ago, like that used to make Jen so mad. And I get it, because on one hand, it's like, you've just dismissed it. They basically said they can do whatever they want. It's just boys being boys, which is a dangerous statement, because boys can be doing, things they should not be doing to girls or whatever. And by doing that, you've just passed it off as though it's okay. And same with this other stuff. If someone does something that isn't right and people go, oh, that's just so-and-so being so-and-so, it's like, no, let's hold them accountable for what they did. It's just the same as I hold myself accountable. Let's not let people get away with, these behaviors also. That teaches them to be toxic. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing is that usually people have if it's happened to them once, it's happened to them many times before that as well.
Yeah.
You know, where they get a pass on something, you know, it's like, oh, you know, and it's because it's the way they're used to being.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yep. And, you know, this is one that I don't remember the rest of these. 'Cause I read through them, but it's been a little while. But this is one that's a big red flag for me. Like, when I'm around people that won't take responsibility for their part of things, it's, you know, it really bothers me.
Absolutely.
You know, because it's like, look, yes, they did something wrong, but on top of that, you also did this. And it's, you know, it's like, that's not okay either. You know, just because someone's a jerk does not give you carte blanche to do whatever you want to do, you know? And, that's always really bothered me. And honestly, it bothers me more as I've, you know, worked on stuff myself. Yeah.
Business. Yeah, exactly. That's my thing and it was so hard the first time I was really practicing this idea of owning, you know, owning my business, and then like looking at the other person like, and now you like, you got nothing? No. And then to be okay with that.
Yep.
And I have to be okay with it, because just because I've learned to do something, I've decided to live my life in a certain way, doesn't mean that anybody else has to do it for me.
Right.
But that also gives me choices.
Mm-hmm. Well, you mentioned about you know, sometimes you'll do something and people, you know, may not give you the response that you want. And like it says in here about apologizing is not always enough. You talked about that when we talked about, oh shoot, I can't think of it. One of the steps in recovery, you know, that when you're trying to make amends, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
You know, that sometimes you apologize to people and they're like, or I'll believe it when I see it, or they just don't accept it. And you have to be okay with all that. And that's why I've never liked, you know, I don't like it when people just make their kids apologize, but the kids don't understand why they're apologizing.
Yeah.
You know, like that kind of stuff. It's like, if you're going to apologize, I want you to mean it. Otherwise, don't bother. If you're going to continue to do that, don't apologize. You know, because you're lying to me. You know, you're not sorry you did it if you're just going to do it again and again and again. You know, if you, like this says, make a plan to not do whatever it is again, now that's a different story. You've apologized, and then if you show me how you've essentially changed, then okay, we can get past it. Otherwise, it just feels like you've disregarded how I feel. So, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, the word amend is change, not I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's about changing.
Yeah. Yep. Like I said,
it's like people sorry all the time, but they don't make amends.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And that's why I've always loved the thing about the stack of dishes, you know, or a plate. Take a plate and throw it on the floor. Tell it you're sorry. Does the plate go back together? No. You know, sometimes I'm sorry isn't enough to fix something, and
it takes some action.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm. The next one is, do you try to one-up people who come to you with a struggle or good news? If your friend, child, family member comes to you with a problem, do you say something like, oh, you think that's bad? Let me tell you what happened to me. Or you're not the only one with a problem, you know. Or do you know how hard things are for me? This is not creating trust and safety within your relationships, and people will soon learn that they cannot come to you with their struggle. Similarly, if someone comes to you with a victory and you turn the conversation to bragging about one of your or your children's accomplishments, this is also not nourishing to the relationship. Jealousy eats us from the inside out. Perhaps turning that jealousy into inspiration for what you would like to accomplish might be a place to start.
I like that idea of nourishing the relationship.
Yeah. Something that they didn't mention in there that kind of, for me, because the way I, you know, the first line of it with it was like, do you struggle with good news? Is like, most of the time I don't run into, well, you do. You see that, what the example they gave, which is oh, I did this. And someone will go, oh yeah, I did that too. But at the same time, there's also hey, I got a promotion. And then the other person couldn't be saltier. You know, because they're, and it's like, that's always been a great test to me about, do you want a person around you? Give them good news and see how they react. If you tell them something good happened to you and they're like, all right, high five, woo, whatever, waving team, whatever your name is, that's awesome. But if all of a sudden they're just like, boy, I wish something like that would happen to me, or, oh, you're lucky, or they go into those kind of modes, then it's like, maybe I don't want to be around you so much. Cause,
they have the sarcastic response or something like that.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you be happy for people around you if they have, successes? To me, Anyway, but all of these things are, in that same camp, that none of them are really good, and most people don't appreciate it. The sad part is, part of it is that you're trying to identify with the person, like when I say I have depression and someone else will be like, oh, well, I have, or anxiety, and they'll go, oh, well, I have this too. They're trying to identify with me. But they don't realize really what they're doing is essentially, oh, we all get that,
Yeah, well, that's, and that's the thing, again, with motive, intention, we have good intentions for that. You want to commiserate, you want to, express understanding. That's one of the, a common one where someone tells you something and you go, oh, wow, I know how that feels because I went through this. Yeah. But it's a fine line. It's a fine line to like commiserate with someone and try to, try to express your understanding by saying that you've experienced something like that versus upping, there's a distinct difference, and I have a hard time when I experience that. Yeah. Like, it's like, again, these are examples of narcissistic behavior. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you have to make it all about you, or you have to blame somebody else, those are, distorted thinking.
Yep. Totally are. All of these things so far definitely are. And, it's, not somebody most people want to keep having conversations with, but, no, it is though. It's funny how, you catch yourself sometimes. Like a great example, I was in, one of the Twitter rooms I'm in, and, somebody mentioned that they had just got some test results about their mom, and it was not horrible news, but not great news, And someone else was like, oh, my mom deals with this. And then my mom, blah, blah, blah. It's like none of us were trying to one-up each other. We were all, like you said, we were all kind of going, hey, I get it, or like Tony and I, we both lost our dad. So when another friend of ours lost his dad, we were there for him, and we were like, we get it. Even though the circumstances are different, we get the loss part of it, Yep. And, but it is easy to do it and then kind of second guess it. Like there was one earlier today, someone was talking about migraines, and I was like, oh, migraine. And then I was like, did I just make that all about me? Like I went and reread it because I thought that I absolutely hijacked the thing. And I was trying to just add to the conversation and be like, I get it. I sympathize, Yep. But then I realized that I did that, but I probably went too far. So I kind of did both. Like you said, there's a fine line there between trying to one up somebody and try to, and I felt I crossed that. So I immediately posted hey, I'm sorry if I, and everybody was like, no one else saw it that way. It was just me seeing it that way. But still, I'd rather do that than just leave it alone and have everyone think. So. Yeah,
you'd rather. Why, why not?
Yeah, I'd rather just apologize for it and be on the right side of that,
Yeah.
Then otherwise you get all the, God, why's Brian always got to talk about his migraines? Like most of the people that listen to these podcasts do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Migraines we know again. You're an alcoholic.
Yeah, we get it.
We get it. Yeah, we know you go to 12-step meetings. They're important to you.
Yep. Like you've beaten that dead horse all the way to China. We get it. Yeah.
That was too fun.
Let's see. Where's the next one here? Do you tend to take more than you give? Do things have to be your way or the highway? Relationships are about the reciprocating. The goal is to give and receive love freely. If you tend to be the taker of favors, emotional energy, talking time, or even physical space, think about the impact of that. The people in your life are eventually going to feel that they are being taken advantage of and distance themselves from you. Another side of this coin is if you give too much, but then resent people or hold favors over their head. Perhaps you say you are going to give something to someone, but then use it against them when you're angry with them. This is not trust-building behavior and only serves to put you in a position of power rather than a position of love. And it makes you a jerk. I added that last line for anybody who wasn't sure.
I just had an unfortunate realization that is I need to send this to a friend of mine who has a toxic person in their life, and it just kind of bummed me out.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, wow. Because that last one sums them up.
That's too bad.
There's always like this, oh, yeah, we'll do this together. And then all of a sudden it's like chipping away. No, I don't like it when no, that doesn't work. No, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. And then the next thing you know, it's like, yeah, there's no together.
Yeah.
There's just the one way. And then it's like, yeah, but look what I did for you here.
Yeah. Yep. That's exactly it too. I have always hated,
Bummer.
Like my grandma has, helped my brothers and me and my mom and dad out at different times financially, and I always, growing up, I never wanted to be in a position where that was going to happen because she's a super nice lady, but the second she wants something from you, if you say no or I can't or whatever, she immediately goes into well, I've been really good to you. I've always done this, this, and this, and it's like, I can't stand that. It's like, no, either you did that.
The old track record.
Yeah. It's like you either did that to be helpful or you did it to be a jerk. Right now, you're telling me essentially you did it to be a jerk,
Yeah.
And it's like, don't get me wrong. There are situations where, like you do a lot of stuff for a person and you ask something minor of them sometimes and you can tell they're just like, nah, I don't want to. And you're like, come on, I'm always there for you, So again, I think there's a little bit of a fine line there, but I just hate the behavior. If you help somebody out, you help them out. You don't worry about the scoreboard. You just do it.
That's it.
That's it,
Yeah.
So, yeah. These are really important ones though, too. The concept of the taking more than you give and also giving more than you take. Both sides of that coin are definitely, you need to make sure that you're careful because it mentions the whole using that as a position of power if you give too much. But there are also a lot of people who are bartering their feelings that way, essentially. You're giving.
These are both symptoms of
good
codependency, actually.
Exactly.
It's about control.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't realize they say, oh, well, me giving is not, I don't want to be in control. Really? Sure. A lot of people don't, I didn't realize that until I read about it and I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Because there's always a little bit of retribution somewhere along the line, with that keeping score thing.
It is. Yep. Exactly.
And that's a control behavior.
Right. And don't get me wrong. I mean, we understand it's tough to not keep score. Like I said, once in a while where,
and it is,
like every time your buddy needs a ride to the airport, you're there for him. Then that one time you need a ride to a doctor's appointment and they're like, or they want gas money or whatever, and you're like, come on, but at the same time, like I said, there's other times where it's approached with a deliberate position of power, and those are the ones that bug me. I've known plenty of people over the years that have done that, where I swear the only reason that they give to people or help anyone is so they can hold it over their head, and try to influence their life. And you can usually tell the difference in the two, The first one's just, you got a lazy bum for a friend, but oh man. All right. The next one.
Toxic and a bum.
Yes. And a jerk. No.
And a jerk. Yes.
This next one, everybody knows or is this person. Do you say you don't like drama, but your life is full of it? Have you ever seen a store called something like Elegant Clothes or Really Good Food, and they are anything but? This can be the same with declarations of not wanting drama. Rehashing the same argument over and over again is a toxic form of drama. Ignoring someone when you are mad at them can be a form of drama as well. Can be? Are you overly moody or irritable, perhaps making things worse than they really are? This can be a way of trying to compensate for your own insecurities or feelings of shame or of not being good enough. Finding a good therapist can help you get to the root of the real pain and help you process it.
Yeah, and I know people like this where they own a couple. Oh yeah, you know what? I just want to fly under the radar. Everything's cool, don't start any stuff, and then they right away bring up that thing from 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Or that thing from 5 years ago, or that thing from, because, I could have said this, and this, and then it's like, oh, this is the
but I stayed out of
time
it.
I've heard you talk about this.
Yeah. Which that's like a combo platter, because that's also the need to be, that's the need to be right also.
Yeah.
Like that
totally.
one time they would have been right or whatever, and now they just can't let that go.
And just holding on to it
mm-hmm.
to pull it out when needed, just stab that in there.
Right. Or it's like, I think everybody's probably known a person who's like, I don't like drama, I don't want to get in the middle of it, but they know all the gossip, and it's like,
oh yeah.
If you really didn't want to be part of it, you wouldn't know all that gossip. I mean, don't get me wrong, like on Twitter, I try as hard as I can to stay away from some of the dumb Twitter drama. And in the rooms I'm in, I've left different rooms because stuff starts, getting stupid. And I'll be like, yeah, I'm out of here. Add me back when this is over, And I, many times somebody's like, oh, this happened. And I'm like, who's that? And what, huh? And I have no clue what's going on. I am just oblivious to it. Yep. And I'm happy.
Exactly.
That way,
yep.
Because I really don't want that.
I love that. Yep.
But look, by nature, we're all nosy, I mean, that just feels like a human thing. We all kind of want to know what's going on, but,
yeah,
but there is also the people who just stir it, the ones that have to run to so-and-so to tell them that somebody else said, whatever. And, those people are the ones you generally want to stay away from. The ones where you end up realizing you have to be careful what you say to who. And it's like, you shouldn't have to be that way.
And there's a lot of stuff that I had to work. Not that I had my life full of drama, but I made conscious efforts to not create difficulties when I had a complete opportunity not to. And being late to everything all the time. It causes tensions. Yep. It's not adding to the stream, it's taking away. And it's very selfish. There's very selfish behavior when you're always late.
That's a great point. I don't think I would have, I hadn't thought about that. You're totally right.
I had an ex that was like that, and it took me such a long time to realize. And then one day I was, it's funny how a lot of these things on this list are like the stuff that we judge others on. It's like,
I know, right?
Because we all judge that person that's got drama in their lives all the time. But I had to she was always late, and I realized it was just out of some odd selfishness. It was always something that she needed to do. Mm-hmm. Where it's like, we've made reservations. We're supposed to be there at this time. Now is not the time to think about what you need to do. You need to live up to your commitment.
Yeah.
There's an other focus here.
Yeah.
And it causes drama. If you're always late and you can make an effort to not be, you're creating drama.
Yeah. I knew, there was a guy I used to work with that this one girl he dated very much took advantage of the whole, arriving fashionably late. And she did it on purpose so that when she walked in, everyone would look at her basically.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And as soon as she said that, I was in the room when she said that, and I looked at him, and then the next day I was like, "You're still with her?" But whatever. It was, but that's the kind of thing. It's like if someone's doing that, it's like, it's one of those things that sometimes you see little traits in people, and you kind of wonder, it's like, well, if they do this, will they or do they do this? That's a bigger deal kind of a thing. And like you said, especially if you know someone you're with or is going to be there gets anxious or whatever about, running late or whatever, it's one of those things that it's such an easy thing to help with, to kind of put an end to. But
yeah, and it's something you can work on that actually has tangible results, and that's how I looked at it. I was like, when I do this way, I feel better, and the people around me seem to be react differently.
And it really works in your favor anyway, because there's a lot of times being late can cost you something. Like maybe you're further back in line, or maybe you don't get for a shot at some of the good food or whatever it is.
They ask the restaurant because you're 15, 20 minutes late for your reservation. There were other people here.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good one. Or people don't know if you're showing up or not, so they don't know how many people to tell. Like, well, they said they're on their way, and it's like, well, they're not here, So, yeah, exactly. So, the next one, funny, I was going into that without even realizing. I forgot about it. Do you gossip?
Yep.
Part of creating drama is also talking about other people behind their backs or telling other people's vulnerable stories. Gossiping makes us feel like we are fitting in better than other people, but ultimately it leaves us feeling worse. I once saw a meme that said, pay attention to how your friends talk about others to you, because that is exactly how they talk about you to others. If you are the one doing the gossiping, it won't take long before people begin to question whether you talk about them that way as well. And then again, damaged relationships may be the result. And that's totally true. Like I said, that and the people who gotta go tell every detail to everybody, like gotta go tattle because it keeps them, good.
Oh, it's another, it's a people pleasing thing too.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to hear what I heard?
Yeah.
How cool am I?
Right.
I got the inside scoop, right?
Yeah.
And when that got pointed out to me.
Wow. Speaking of gossip.
There was silence. It was weird the first time I put it into practice, like, because we talk about it a lot in our meetings about gossip, because it is a toxic behavior.
Totally.
And it does lead to issues. And so it's a worthy topic. And the one thing is to, they're sharing your experiences. There's a way that I share my experience with somebody or something that happened to me. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean that I'm gossiping. I might be looking for advice. I might be just, talking about what happened during my day. And yeah, I can temper it and, and choose my, words carefully. But the main thing, the first time I had a guy come up to me and said, hey, you know what I heard about, you want to hear what I heard about so-and-so? And I literally went, nope. It felt so good. I was like, no, I don't.
Right. Exactly.
And you should stop doing that, Oh, Sharon's got some gossip, evidently.
She ran home to tell you.
She just came over to let me know.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, hey, when you're done.
Gossip.
Because it's funny, like, there's, like, it always starts like this. Oh, we had drama at work today. Mm-hmm. Or, oh boy, we got some drama.
Yeah.
And now all right. So you are talking about your experience.
Yeah.
But I think there's a way that, are you crossing that line and now you're just, talking smack about somebody? Is it gossip?
Yeah. And the best part is the way you're delivering it. You're enticing the person. It's similar to like the news when it's like this soda will kill you. Find out at 11, and you're like, oh geez, I gotta, So like that, it's like, oh, there was such drama at work today. And the way it's presented, you almost can't say no, because like, first of all, if the person needs to download, like you were saying earlier, it's like you want to, allow them to do that. And then there's also the whole like, ooh, really?
Yeah. And I think this is one of those cases where checking your motive will tell you everything you need to know about whether you're doing something that you should or shouldn't do. Like, are you saying something to someone because you want to gain favor?
Yeah.
Are you saying it because you want to have a little bit of, feel a little bit superior to somebody else.
Yeah.
I think those are those things. Or are you just sharing what happened with you today with your loved one? Yeah. And that's part of it. What for me was, learning to be, I pride myself now in being able to keep a secret.
Yeah.
There are things that I have been told by people that I have never shared with anybody else in the world.
Same here.
And I used to not be that guy.
Yeah.
I was not that person because I was a people pleaser. So I wanted, you know what so-and-so told me they did, or whatever it was. And that was a part of of me that I was not proud of. And so now I like it if someone says, hey, can you just keep this between me and you? Yes, absolutely. I can.
Yeah.
And it's weird how, like, with this, getting this car last week, part of it was we were kind of doing it under the radar. It was amazing how fast everybody knew all about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Random people coming up to me on the street I'm not talking about the fact that I posted something on Facebook.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you're not talking social media. You're talking like real life, right?
Real life.
Like in person. Wow.
Like knowing details about the deal. Because I didn't put that on social media.
Yeah. Like the town crier had been yelling it out.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like someone just said hey, let's keep this on the down low. And then somebody else just went out and,
issued a press release.
Weird. I'm like, well, yeah. And here's the funny thing about it is I wasn't, now it's easy. I mean, everybody, I don't need to, there's nothing I have to hide. Right.
Yeah.
But it was kind of put out to me that, maybe this is worth kind of keeping quiet. Now that everybody knows, I'm like, well, I'll talk about it. I don't care.
Everybody knows it now. Yeah.
Yeah. I got a smoking deal, but it was just so funny how that, it just reminded me of high school again.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. That's really funny though. Like on social media, I totally would expect that, cause it's so easy for word to travel, In person, it's a little harder than it used to be, but I guess it's not. We text each other and use,
Oh, you run into someone.
Well, especially, like the area you live in, where everybody knows, a lot of people know each other.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Gossip moves real fast in those areas.
And this is another one of those little things that, trying to be late. This is another thing that all of us can work on because we all deal with this stuff. We all heard something about somebody or someone, or somebody comes up to you and asks you, and it's like, try it, see how you feel. Just saying, no, I don't want to know about so and so.
I don't want to hear this. Yeah.
And I like having that plausible deniability. Hey, you want to know what happened? No, none of my business.
Yeah. If they want me to, I've caught myself at different times saying, if they want me to know, they'll tell me.
They'll tell me.
Yeah.
I love that one. And I've had that one used, a guy that is, I consider this person a friend because of this. Someone said, hey, did you hear what happened? Or hey, what's going on with Heno? Blah, blah, blah. And the other person was like, why don't you go talk to him yourself?
Right? I do that too. Yeah. Yep. Because it's the truth.
Like, awesome. Thanks for doing that.
Well, it's a weird situation a little bit, isn't it? Like if I ask somebody, hey, how's Heno doing? It's like, it shows that I care, but not enough to actually go to you. Like it's a weird position,
exactly, like that is weird.
I mean, no, don't get me wrong. It'd be different if like you and I had a fight and you were pissed at me. Then I'm like, hey, how's Heno? And like, somebody's like, maybe give him a few more days, like something like that.
Exactly,
okay, that's okay. Yeah.
Maybe bring flowers.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man. All right.
Or
the next
scotch.
Wait a minute. Wait, did you say butterscotch or a fine scotch?
I said a fine scotch.
Okay.
I'll take butterscotch too.
Bring both. Yeah.
Yeah.
The next one is, do you fish for attention on social media? What? Nobody would do this. Do you seek attention, air dirty laundry, or post vague statements trying to get validation on your Facebook page? Do you post...
Fake booking.
Yep. Do you make posts about getting a new car? No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. An example might be, can't believe people suck so badly. The hits just keep coming. Hashtag heartbroken. Or that moment when you just know it's going to be an awful day. I didn't give him permission to post my messages. People don't have any idea what you're talking about, and it's a call for people to ask you what is going on or give you some general sympathy. It's better to reach out to a friend or a therapist. Figure out where the pain is and deal with it head on. Totally.
I cannot stand this when I see this on Facebook. I hate
all
it.
the time.
I hate it. It is so bad.
Like those posts where it's like, if you're a real friend, you'll blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, guess I'm not a real friend. Scroll.
Yeah. Or just this whole like, well, that was the worst thing I've ever experienced ever.
Yeah.
Just out with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, or, I mean, I get the whole thing, like feeling down. Even that one, I'm just like, oh, good for you.
Yeah.
But it's like, just say it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So we've been talking for a while, audience members. We've been talking about doing a codependency episode where each of us bring, you know, Jen, Brian, and I bring a particular topic, and we talk about that topic about codependency. And mine was going to be fishing because it's part of the book. If you've never read it, I highly recommend it. Codependent No More by Melody Beatty. And she does a whole thing on fishing. And meaning fishing is like your friend calls you on the phone, and you pick up the phone and you go, "Hey, how's it going?" It's
all right.
Okay.
Yep. Why? What's the matter? Because that's the first thing you're going to do. Yep.
Exactly. And to just say, "Oh, well, that's too bad." Don't fall for it.
Yeah.
That is control. That person is controlling the conversation.
Yeah.
So that's, I was so profoundly blown away that was brought up in this book. I'm like, whoa, I never thought about that. Once again, another element of control.
Yeah.
They want to get you to they want the attention.
Yeah. I've hated fishing, like this kind of fishing, for so long that I mean, I used to just straight out call people out on, like, they do something. I'd be like, wow, you know, like catch anything, or I'd just make little comments along the lines of, you know, that it was fishing. Yeah. Or I would just straight out go, yeah, you're fishing, you know, kind of a thing. Like I've always had a low tolerance for it because, look, I have low confidence, but I try really hard not to fish. Maybe I do. I don't realize it, but I try not to. And that usually is what it comes across to me as though, for lack of a better term, it's like the people who post on Instagram and they're like, here's my ugly face, because they know everybody's going to go, you're gorgeous, you're pretty, meh, meh, meh. Right? And we all love being told that we're, you know, gorgeous and pretty and have flowers brought to us and stuff. I mean, you know, we're not savages, but at the same time, it's like, come on. Don't get me wrong. Every once in a while, I can totally see it. You know, if you're going to fish, do it the way I did. You know? To where it's like, hey, tell me something about myself that you like. You know?
Yep.
Do something more like that. And then, you know, learn from it. Like, oh, wow, people actually do. Like me, it helped my self-esteem. And it wasn't in the same way. You know, it was something my therapist suggested to me to help build my self-esteem, to see that other people value me. You know? That's not what these others are doing. You're just trying to get 100 likes on your, or 1,000 likes on your, you know, weird selfie. And, you know, that's a big, big difference.
Yes, it is.
And this one's not going to get any better, though. The fishing for attention on social media, it's just, you know, it's just going to continue. And speaking of things that won't get better on social media, the next one is, do you complain a lot? We all have hard days, but if you tend to focus on the negative or complain excessively, this also might have a negative impact on people. Do you only see the worst part of the story? Or is, yeah, but a common answer for you? Do you feel like you nourish people, or do you suck their energy?
Ooh, it's good.
Yep.
They used my line. I already talked about buts.
Yeah, buts. Yep. Totally right. It's, you know, no one wants to be around a person that complains all the time. Nobody. You know, it's just one of those things that we all have that fill line for it, you know, like when you hit a certain point, you're just like, all right, enough, you know, like has anything good ever happened to you? You know, like, it's like, come on. Again, this falls into distorted thinking though, too. Somebody who complains a lot because they're only looking at negativity and they're always looking for the worst of a story or how they didn't get the big win. You know, you'll be like, well, you did this. And they're like, yeah, but I didn't win the $100 million lotto, you know?
Yeah.
Or some dumb, you know, stuff like that. Caught myself. Yeah. Yeah. I know I did this a lot. And it's like, remember, Heno, I told you that I've heard people since doing the stuff that I knew I did. And I'm like, oh, was I that bad? You know, like looking back at it. And it's because I don't want to be around people who are like that, you know, now, even though I was that person, it's, you know, it's no good. Again, neither extreme is good to reside in. You know, we got to kind of bounce around. And, you know, all the negativity is no good. Plus, like I said earlier, no one wants to be around somebody that only, you know, Debbie Downer. I mean, that's really what it, you know.
It really is.
You know.
Yeah.
And don't give me the I'm a realist garbage either. Save
so
it.
True.
Because you're not, because you're still hovering toward negativity. If you're a realist, you would have some optimism because there's always or almost always a chance for something, you know? So
it's true. And it is, you know, this is something where, again, it's, you know, use your judgment. Sometimes people go through a bad spot and it's worth having some compassion, you know, for them. But,
and don't get me wrong, there are just sometimes you'll talk with somebody and you're like, wow, this is just thing after thing after thing, you know, and you're like, whoa, you know, so it does happen. Yeah. To where you're like, you know, you've got every right to complain. And what amazes me is when I meet people that I find out that are literally going through some real rough times and you don't hear them complaining about it. Oh, they might mention it as part, but it's part of the conversation. Yeah. They're not pointing it out. They're not looking, because here's the other thing. People that tend to complain a lot are also playing the victim. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, they want to be the victim. Yep. And also these are the type of people generally that will pull the, everything is everybody else's fault. Yeah. Cause, you know, they'll be like, well, I would have got that promotion if that guy, the blah, 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 you know, like everything is not, it's not the fact that you're late every day. It's about that guy and how he sucks up, you know, like that kind of thing. And it's, it is amazing. Like I know a lot of these tie together, you know, a lot of people that do one of these do multiples. And like I said, almost everybody does some of these things, you know. The goal is to just not be heavy on this list. You know, like, wow, there's 10 things and, I'm checking off 8 of them. Yeah. Well, it's like you said, we all have a lot. We've either had periods in our lives where we've done this, you know, we all do some of this. Yeah. A little bit all the time. You know, it's human nature. Mm-hmm. But I like that idea of like, how heavy are you in this list? Like, you don't want to be ticking all the boxes here. The upside to it is, like it's said multiple times, the best part about this is stuff you can go to therapy, and it's stuff that you can overcome. Like, this is not insurmountable in any way. You know, it might take you a while. You know, it might take a lot of work, because some people are more toxic than others and whatever, but it's, you know, like I said, I've gotten a lot of work done on a lot of these. So, you know. The next one is, do you dominate the conversation, which Heno kind of mentioned earlier? It may be that you are trying to manage your own anxieties or trying to please or entertain others by being overly verbose. Perhaps you have a difficult time listening to others, or maybe you are thinking about what you will say while they are talking. If you think what you have to say is more interesting or important, or if you interrupt a lot, this may also be a way of managing insecurities. Way to put the weird inflection there, Brian. Inappropriate gender-based or racial jokes are other ways of taking up space in a toxic way. Wow, they just had to go and really, really get real there, didn't they? Yeah, so this is me. This is also me. This is one of my worst, there was, before I got sober,
I had recognized this in myself that, that I dominate conversation, and it is a horrible character defect.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
And it is the one thing that I've just worked so hard on it. I worked on it before I started knowing about working on myself, just because it was, especially get a few drinks in, and it was like,
yeah.
It's the things I was embarrassed about the next day. And it's, being too, enthusiastic in a and just that much of it, being animated, being, really feeling you're important. These are all that I did. Just talking people down.
Yeah.
It was wild how, like, when I'd have people around me literally just get quiet.
Yeah.
And
it's funny though, because when that happens and you're in that mind space, you're thinking it's because you're so interesting, and you're not. It's just everyone around you is probably going, when is this idiot going to shut up?
Yeah. Yeah, it really is.
Mm-hmm. Mine is based in insecurity.
Yeah.
That,
okay.
Honestly, I had this described to me, years ago by somebody, and that they figured that the reason I will dominate a conversation is because I'm afraid if I stop talking, people will leave.
Yep.
Or walk away or what. So the only way I can stop them is to keep talking, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of truth in that, Now not as much, but at the time, yeah. And honestly, podcasting's made a big difference for me in this too, because like the interrupting, I try hard not to. I still do it.
Mm-hmm.
But, we try to give each other space to talk, when you're talking, I try to back out and vice versa and all that. And that's the way good conversation should be anyway. But podcasting has kind of brought it to where I'm more aware of it because, if we start talking over each other on here, it's just a mess when you listen back to it, So,
yep.
Yeah.
There was one time where I was with Neil and we were all, I think we were up mountain biking or something up in Tahoe, and we were having breakfast the next morning. A big group of people were on the table, and the topic went to gun control. And I'm just sat. It was just me finally trying to put an effort into just, my opinion doesn't need to be heard on every single freaking topic. And I remember at one point, I think Neil just looks over at me. Like double takes, triple takes. And I think my friend Lauren was with us too, and she looks over at me, and I'm just sitting there just quiet, and he just was like, wow.
Right, because
it felt good.
I would imagine that the way the thought process would go there is like, oh boy, Heno's going to blow at some point. Like you're just sitting back waiting, and then at some point you're coming in strong, but yeah. And
I just let the conversation go on around me, and afterwards I just,
Mm-hmm.
It changed to something else, and then that was it.
Yeah. Yep. That's what I've been trying to do that with that kind of thing too. Like the Twitter rooms has been difficult for me to do that in sometimes. And there's one I'm in, I love it, but every once in a while they'll get going on politics, and I'm just like, I just ignore it for hours, because I'm like, I just don't want to. I want to have fun. There's so much weighing us down. I got so much in my own head that I'm fighting constantly. It's like I don't need more,
Mm-hmm, yep.
It's like I'm doing enough harm or enough fighting on my own. I just don't need to fight over something that's realistically we're not going to change,
It's true.
Like, I'm not saying we shouldn't talk about any of this stuff. It's just, I've just gotten to where I pick and choose. Like you said, it doesn't have to be heard every time on every topic. And that's, yeah. If you want that, then you listen to Salty Language because, no.
Exactly.
Oh, man. But yeah, that's, it's a tough one to lay back sometimes. Yeah, because you really like something you're passionate about and you really want to say something, but like you said, you're just sometimes you're just like, this is a waste of breath. I'm just not going to do it here,
And also sometimes the idea is like nobody asked for my opinion.
Also that, yeah.
Yeah.
There's that too. Yeah. Oh man. And then the last one, which shouldn't surprise anybody, is, are your friends disappearing? Which seems like a really good way to find out if you're a toxic person. Like, I don't know why people keep leaving me. I don't know why they keep this and this in my life. And it's like, you realize the common denominator is you, right?
You. Yeah.
In math, it's pretty simple to solve this problem. It says, perhaps you learned the only way to get your needs met was to trick or manipulate people. Perhaps you do not treat people kindly or with respect. Do you demean others, call them names, put them down? Perhaps you make overly judgmental statements, threats, or passive-aggressive remarks. Perhaps you engage often in one of the other behaviors listed above. If you find that many of your relationships have ended in tumultuous cutoff, there may be a wound that needs healing. Then it goes into more like therapy stuff that I'm not qualified to get into, so we'll leave that. It's funny though, the first time that, where was it? Passive aggressiveness was brought up is right there, because a lot of people would find passive aggressive behavior is, don't get me wrong, some of the stuff that was listed is passive aggressive behavior. I was just kind of surprised it wasn't like pointed out a little bit, because that's the kind of stuff that when I get around people that are passive aggressive, we've talked about this before, but when I get around people that I know are being passive aggressive and I watch them try to manipulate others, it just enrages me, and I have almost no tolerance for it. Like, and I have gotten to where when people do that stuff, I've gotten to where I start calling people out on it, because all you're trying to do is manipulate someone. Now, like this says, it's not always like, it may be a learned behavior, something you were brought up. That's how you were raised, so that's how you're behaving and all that. But we're adults. We're civilized people for the most part. There's all sorts of therapists out there. There's friends, all this other stuff. There's really you don't have to stay that way. Like you said earlier, Henno, you didn't like who you were, so you changed who you were. And same with me and that kind of stuff. And I think that's really important to keep in mind with this kind of stuff. And really, if you look around and all your friends are disappearing, there's probably time to, either talk to them to see if you can find out why, or, maybe seek out some help, because maybe you don't realize you're driving people away. Whether it's because you're toxic or maybe it's something else. I drove people away because of being depressed, because I didn't want to go do anything. So there's other ways, but still. Anyway.
One thing that I think it's worth saying is that there's nothing wrong with who I was or who I am.
Yeah.
And that these things don't define me. What they are is their behaviors of mine.
Yeah.
And behaviors can be modified.
Right.
This is the things I started feeling that these things did define me.
Right.
That it was, it's like, I want to change who I am. That's how it felt to me. Like, this is who I am, right? And cause they were I'm like, well, that's who I am. Can't change. I had that same attitude where it's like, well, deal with it. Right.
Yeah.
But it's not who I am. It's not who I was, and it's not who I am today. These are just behaviors. And if you're losing friends and if you change your behaviors, if you have friends, they know who you are.
Yeah.
And they're not going to hold behaviors against you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the truth. I really believe that any of us that puts in the effort to change our behaviors and make a difference, your friends are still going to be your friends.
Yeah. People notice when you do that stuff. I've been told by quite a few people, about like my attitude being different, or just that I don't seem the same as I used to. And they're meaning that in the best ways. Like they're, paying me a compliment for the fact that I've tried to not be that, because that wasn't me. They've been like, this is like, it's like, this is who we know, this is the guy we want. So you're right. Yeah. So there you go. If, like I said, if you find yourself,
great list.
Yeah, I thought so too. If you find yourself, kind of like, wow, this really hit marks for me. Like I said, maybe talk to your doctor about seeing a therapist or something along those lines. 'Cause, it doesn't mean you're crazy. It doesn't mean there's this or that. And like I said, this is something you can work on. I've made great strides in a lot of this kind of stuff. And I've known other people who've really turned themselves around. And Heno said it too, it's with you. It was, you realized you were a toxic person, not just to others, but to yourself as well,
It's true.
and you made the changes on that. Now I would, I can't imagine somebody calling you a toxic person now, unless they're trying to create some drama. No. But, and that's like I said, cause none of us are trying to be, but just like with the stuff we talked about when we talked about the distorted thinking stuff, once you kind of start going down that rabbit hole, it's real easy to snowball from one of these things into 2, 3, cause there were easily of that list of say 9 things, there was easily probably 4 of them that really tie together. And then the others are also right around that area. So, be super easy to fall into a lot of these without meaning to.
Yep.
But like I said, if you're willing to do a little bit of work, you can get out of it. Then you'll start looking at all your friends going, wow, why am I with all these toxic people? Yeah. And it'll ruin your life.
Just like the distorted thinking list.
Yeah.
Yeah. Start seeing it in everybody else.
Yep. But much like that list, make sure the first person you see it in is you. Make sure you see it in yourself first. Because if you don't, then you're being a naughty person. So, all right. Good talk, right? Think we're good?
Great talk.
Yep, I agree.
Definitely good. Yep.
All right, well, as Jen says, if you'd like to continue the conversation, you can visit our website at thecrazylifepodcast.weebly.com. You can email us at thecrazylifepodcast@outlook.com. If you have a topic for the show you'd like us to discuss, please send it in to us.
Yeah.
We would love to hear from other people, and or potentially coming on and talking with us. We would definitely like to hear from people if you're interested. You can find the show on Twitter at The Crazy Life Pod. You can find Jen on Twitter at Jen's Crazy Life. Heno, how about you?
You can find me on Twitter at Ida Heno. You can find me on Facebook, Heno Heicher. Message me there, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. You can find me on, or you can also find the show. Whoop, I already gave that one. You can find me on Twitter at Stunami. You can find my other show at salty_language, or at saltylanguage.com. And that show is not safe for work, so please be careful where you listen to it. Headphones in or on or whatever. You can find us over on Facebook at facebook.com/group/crazylifepodcast. We're part of the Tangentbound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com. And if you would like to help the show out, we'd really appreciate it if you're using Apple Podcasts or however you're getting our podcast. If they have a rate, review, subscribe options, please use those. Or if they have like or share options, please use those. All that stuff might help us find some more listeners. If you're, or if you would just retweet our show links on Twitter, or share the Facebook posts. So, and join us over our group over at Facebook at facebook.com/group/crazylifepodcast. We need more members. Join us. The
power of
suggestion. Totally join us. We've got some great gossip. No.
Yes. We'll tell you some things. We'll give you all the dirt.
Yep. All right.
But you know what? If you come in and complain, we're just going to one-up you anyway, so.
Yeah, that's true. Do you know who we are?
Yeah.
All right. Well, you want to take us out of here, Heno? I think that's everything. So. Oh, no,
yeah.
it isn't. It's not at all. Because this is the part of the show also where I'm supposed to tell you, if you feel that you need help, please seek out professional help. A therapist, talk to your primary care physician, find a support group, whatever it is. But if you need help, please reach out to someone. If you want to help others, your friends and stuff, just please reach out to them. Especially if they've had a recent job loss or money struggles or whatever it is like that, but also reach out to your friends who, tell you they're fine. Because as I've pointed out many times on here, I'm fine is one of the most over-abused masks that there is. So, reach out to your friends, just see how they're doing, say hi, whatever it is you may make their day or you may save their life. You just never know. All right.
Yep. Just keep calling.
Yep.
That's what I got.